What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Thursday night. I know you've got the Cowboys playing right now, and it's actually been an entertaining as hell first half. So we'll get out of here quickly. This will be a fast one on this Thursday night. Appreciate you guys being here. As we do every Thursday, keys to the game for Ole Miss and Kentucky. We will do that. Look at the injury report as well on this edition of the podcast. My name is Michael Borky. Glad that you're here. Don't forget to subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or if you want to hop over to the podcast feed as well and never miss an episode, wherever you get your podcast, just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review. But also don't forget to do it right here on YouTube. This edition of the show and every edition of the show is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven. Check them out online at toyotaofbrookhaven.com. They're also off of Exit 40 in Brookhaven. Of course, they'll give you $1,000 off on me if you just tell them that I sent you $1,000 off on me if you just tell them that I am the one that sent you. Toyota of Brookhaven will deliver for you. They have great in-house financing and service department that's open from 7 to 7, one of the highest rated in the state, and they will treat you like a person. An outstanding car buying experience is waiting for you at Toyota of Brookhaven. So this is the second version of the student athlete availability report, because we just can't call it the injury report for some reason. Out for this game, no surprise by any of these. Traylon Ray still working his way back from an injury. Luke Has still not ready yet, but I do think that will happen soon. Therese Davis, the offensive lineman, and then Samari Reed, a reserve wide receiver, all listed as out. Now, I am slightly confused because last night you had players that were listed as out that are no longer listed as out. I thought that once they're out, they are. I guess that's not right, but Caleb Cunningham being one of the guys on that list, he is now listed as questionable alongside Jalen Braxton, the defensive back that did not play last week, the Arkansas transfer. Ricky Fletcher still listed as questionable, as is Dante Core. One probable, Delano Townsend, which I think could be a very important thing for this team. And when Davis gets back as well, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season, you see both of them starting on this offensive line. But looks like one is coming back this week, giving them another option at guard. And they very, very well could need to use another option at guard if this game does not go well in the interior of the offensive line. You had Daquan Wright on this injury report last night, and he is no longer on the injury report. Here, I'll quick tell you like what has changed about this. So yesterday, Ole Miss had Cunningham, Ray, and Has all listed as out. Ray and Has still there. Cunningham has been upgraded. Davis and Reed were listed as doubtful. And then Daquan Wright, like I said, no longer on the report. So he's going to play, considering he's not on this report at all. So was Kiffin playing some games with the injury report? Last year they kind of did, especially with the guys that were listed as questionable or probable that were always going to play no matter what. But still, pretty decent injury report for Ole Miss. Nothing too impactful. None of this should change the way you think about this game anyway. At least it doesn't me. But the important thing now is why we're here every Thursday. 3 keys to the game. If Ole Miss is going to beat Kentucky, these 3 things, in my opinion, are the most important if they're going to get a win. Number 1 to me is match their physicality. That is, put a star next to it, underline it. That is the thing in this game. You saw it last year, and they're going to try to do it again to Ole Miss. Kentucky is going to try to line up and not only run the football right at Ole Miss, but make this game be played within a phone booth. That is what Kentucky is going to try to do in this game. They're going to try to be physical. They're going to try to stop the run, but more importantly, they're going to try to control the clock and own the line of scrimmage. And when they did that a year ago, through even the laundry list of mistakes Ole Miss made in that game, it was won and lost on the line of scrimmage. And Kentucky is going to try to do that again. You can guarantee it. So they have to match the physicality of Kentucky, and they have to be comfortable winning those trench fights, because they're going to slow the pace down. They're going to limit possessions, And Ole Miss has got to be able to play physical in this game. If they cannot, then it's going to be a very similar result to last year. Even if Ole Miss can get a win in this game, I think that Kentucky is going to try to control the pace. Ole Miss has got to match their physicality and counter that as best they can. But that's the key. For every football game, it's on lines of scrimmage, but this one is of utmost importance. And the Ole Miss defensive front, it's hard to nitpick a game like last week. And of the Georgia State rushing yards, what was it? 50 of them came on one play against the reserves in the fourth quarter. But I think they could have done a better job defending the run last week. This is a much bigger challenge. And can they match that physicality? That's key number one. Number two for me is keeping it simple for Austin Simmons. And I don't mean dumbing down the offense. I mean, especially early to kind of work him into this game and allow him to get comfortable in his first start. A lot of quick stuff. Get the ball out fast. You've got, even though Kentucky defensively feels pretty good about their secondary, as you heard earlier today, I think that Ole Miss has the matchup advantage with skill positions versus Kentucky's defense. So a big problem with what I thought they approached the game with last year was long developing passing plays. Jackson Dart, or the way the plays were called, it felt like they really just wanted to hit home runs all day long, and there wasn't a whole lot of creativity underneath or getting the ball out fast. It was drop back, long developing pass plays, really try to hit home run balls down the field. I do not think that that should be the way they approach this game at all, especially early. Get the ball out of Austin Simmons' hand quickly, alleviate what could be issues on the offensive line, but also allow him to get comfortable. Pitch and catch type stuff, easy throws, easy completion, short stuff to allow him to get comfortable and settle in to this game. And also, you've got the playmakers that, when you do that, can really do damage to anybody in space. So it works twofold. It allows your young quarterback to get comfortable. It alleviates issues on the offensive line. And then that very well could be where they are best is quick stuff, exploiting some mismatches, and allowing their athletes to go make plays in space. I think even though Ole Miss is going to try to run the football because that's what the offense does, they're going to try to do that every single game that they play. To me, this game for Ole Miss is going to be won offensively anyway with the group of wide receivers. I think that's where Ole Miss is going to be able to have more success offensively, is getting the ball quickly to Wallace, to Lee, quick stuff to the tight end, and allowing them to operate in space because there's a mismatch there, I believe. And finally, they have got to be able to survive adversity. They're going to face it in this game. They didn't really face it at all last week. There's going to be like an early sack for Kentucky. It's not going to be perfect right away. The crowd's against you. And again, it's not going to be perfect. So can they adjust to the slow pace and not press when things don't go well early? Because as we've talked about before, it felt like that team a year ago pressed when it wasn't perfect. And I know you might be saying, well, what about Georgia? Austin Simmons was the one that calmed everything down. If Ole Miss goes 3 and out on that drive, who knows what that game becomes? But in their 3 losses, it felt like because it didn't go perfectly, they pressed, they panicked, and they can't do that this time. The pace is going to be slow. You're going to face some early adversity, like you received the opening kickoff, and Simmons gets sacked on second down, and you go 3 and out. They're going to have to survive early adversity because this game is ripe for that. And are they mature enough as a football team to not allow that to cause them to press and then in turn make mistakes? I don't think Kentucky can beat Ole Miss if Ole Miss plays their A game. If they protect the football and execute, I don't think that Kentucky can keep up with them. So how do you let them stay in this game? You turn it over and you make mistakes. That's what they did last year. They turned it over and they made mistakes, and that's why Kentucky was able to win that game. If you don't do that, you will win. Score prediction, by the way, 31-10 is my score prediction for Ole Miss in this game. 31-10. I don't think Kentucky's offense has enough gas to keep up with Ole Miss's offense. I expect it to be an early struggle, and then athletes take over for Ole Miss, especially in the second half. So we shall see. Podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. You tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will find what you need for you on me. Check them out, absms.com. Also, Priority One Bank, to make you their priority with locations scattered across the state of Mississippi. So there's very likely to be one in your backyard. And they have local loan servicing and decision-making. It's people that will take care of you because it's in the name. Bank with me at Priority One Bank. All right, a few of your messages, and then we'll get out of here. I know there's a good football game going on, and this is the second podcast of the day today. And I've got to save my voice, by the way. So last Friday, I'm doing Hartfield games now on the radio, which it was a lot of fun week one. But right after the third quarter, voice was shot. Did 3 hours of radio that day, did an hour podcast the night before, and then had to do 2.5 hours of football after radio. I lost my voice. I got to protect this thing. I've got to be better prepared tomorrow night to face some adversity myself. So we're going to get out of here a little early because I can already kind of feel myself losing it already. I cannot have a fourth quarter where I am sounding like a 13-year-old with a scratchy voice, if you catch my drift. So can't have that. Ole Miss will have to take care of the ball to win, absolutely. NFL already off to an interesting start, to say the least. Yeah, Jalen Carter. Man, he's one hell of a football player. And stuff like that is part of his story that is unfortunate, because if he made better choices, he'd be looked at in the same, and he probably still is, but he'd be a household name. And again, maybe he still is, but you've got stuff attached to him. Just stupid. Just absolutely gross and stupid. Spitting on a quarterback. What is wrong with you? If Ole Miss wins, how much do they move up in the AP poll? Well, I guess it depends on what happens in front of them. You're not going to get super duper bonus points for beating Kentucky. So it's really more about what happens in front of them. Like Oklahoma plays Michigan this weekend. SMU's got Baylor in a tight game this weekend. Iowa State in front of them has a rivalry game this weekend. Arizona State could lose. They're only a touchdown favorite. They certainly could lose. I think Illinois could lose this weekend at Duke. So all the O-line has to do is be okay, and Ole Miss will go 9-3, 10-2. I tend to think, I'm still holding on to my 9-3 prediction. I'm really just curious to see how the offensive line performs in this game. But I said this on the radio show. There are some people that are still caught up in scrutinizing the program like it's the early 2000s again. And I have adjusted the way I think and talk about the program as the program has invested and adjusted the way it acts. So I think that, the standard for what is acceptable should be much higher than what a lot of people are used to. And I think some fans are having a hard time adjusting to increased expectations, and some people that cover the team are having a hard time recalibrating what is acceptable and what isn't when it comes to this program. Look, if Ole Miss wins this game, but they really struggle up front, and it's ugly, but they find a way to escape, I'm not going to come onto this stream, which, by the way, we will go live after bedtime on Saturday night. After the game, we immediately have to go to a birthday party on Saturday. So we'll just go live Saturday night. So had the notification bell on probably about 9 o'clock on Saturday night. Will be about when we go live. So not immediately after the game. So just keep that in mind. But if it's an ugly, ugly football game and they can't protect, but they just escape with a win, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great of a win that is. I'm going to say, look, winning on the road in the SEC is difficult. So that is a positive thing. But is this a team if this happens, are you going to look at them as a playoff team if they still cannot protect, they can't run the football against Kentucky? No, that will be the conversation after the game. I've increased my standards. If they can stop the run and give Austin time to do Austin things, Rebs by 30. All the O-line has to do is be okay. They have the 4-star talent to do so. They didn't even have that last year besides Williams and Pounds. I don't, on paper, going into the season, that offensive line had no business being as bad as it was. 4 returning starters and 4 incoming transfers, including 2 from the Washington offensive line that made the national championship. It shouldn't have been that bad. That doesn't mean this one can't be better, but that one should not have been that bad. It's as simple as a game. You show your muscle as a superior program and that they are capable of competing in the league this year. Simply cannot lose this, and it shouldn't be very close. I agree, especially considering what happened last year. Great looking uniforms for Saturday, win or lose. I do like those. I really do. If Ole Miss wins, what time will the Hogs game be? I have no idea, honestly. It depends on the other results around as well. We've talked about, can they just mask the offensive line issue? If they can't block and execute offense, they're back to what we saw in last year's game. Yeah. We get a 42-10 prediction, 55-17, 55 points on this defense would be one hell of a day. If they score 55 points on this Kentucky defense, we are having – so I just talked about like the negative conversation we'd be having. If they score 55 points on this Kentucky defense, we will then Saturday night be talking about a team that has proven that they can make the playoff this season. If they get to that number, absolutely. Why get rid of your traditional road fit? Because the head coach likes powder blue. That's why. Don't get why they always insist on wearing blue against the bluest team in the league. I have no idea. I agree they didn't play well, but the interior has a higher ceiling than last year. Kutas was a top 3 portal lineman for a reason. Yes, he's got a lot of stepping up to do. Also, I think that the availability of quality linemen in the portal was not particularly high either. But can the offense hit 30 points? They've only done it once in league play since the 23 A&M game with Arkansas last year. They need to get close to or score 30 at Kentucky. Yeah. What was the hardest hit you've ever seen since you started watching college football? McCluster on a kickoff versus Vandy at home in 1 year. I was 30 yards from it on the front row. It was scary. The Jadeveon Clowney hit against Michigan. That is possibly the greatest hit in college football history, the most iconic hit in college football history. Think they cover, but not sure they're capable of blowing a team like Kentucky out. Thinking about a 14-point win, like a 27-13 or 31-17 type game. You and I are close. We're pretty close there. I think the Hogs are going to beat Arkansas State. I do. Cannot imagine the conversations and discourse around the program if they go up there and lose. Even if they escape with a close win, things might get testy. If they go up there and lose, then that will be – I mean, it will be hard to – like contextualize how bizarre those two results back-to-back would be. Short passing game and screen passes are more valuable asset this team needs. And they showed some of that on Saturday. I was encouraged by some of the quick and short passing game that they showed. Last year, they got an early lead, but it would be valuable again to do it, especially to take their crowd out of the game. Their fans already iffy on throwing in this towel on Stoops. Yeah, you could get the Q word on Saturday. You could get the Q word. Score prediction. Gave my score prediction. 31-10. Player of the game and what Simmons' line looks like. Player of the game offensively. I think will be Daquan Wright. I think they're going to use the tight end and use it well and effectively. Um, Defensively, player of the game, Xavier Harris. This is the kind of team where he can really show what kind of lineman he has become. I think it'll be another quiet day for Centarian Perkins because Kentucky's just not going to give him the opportunities to be what he is. But this is the kind of game where Xavier Harris can really flex what he is capable of. Simmons stat line, I mean, something I don't think explosive because I do expect it to be kind of a an early slog. So something like 16 of 28 for 220 and a couple of touchdowns and a pick, something like that. Any predictions from Arizona State, Mississippi State, Missouri, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Michigan? I do think State will play Arizona State close. I don't think that they will ultimately win. Arizona State's defensive front is going to be really good. They have a wide receiver that's also pretty high level. Love their quarterback. I think it'll be close for a while, and then Arizona State's going to just be better on the lines of scrimmage and kind of pull away late. Missouri, Kansas, I have no idea, but I kind of love Kansas in this game. And then Oklahoma, Michigan, I think Oklahoma might beat Michigan by a couple of touchdowns. It's a guy that just turned 18's first road start. It's a chance it doesn't look perfect. Have a high score on this game because Kiffin won't take the starters out in this one. Yeah, and that's another angle here is, I mean, they talked about it. They've made it well aware of what last year's result was. You should have a very pissed off and focused team. We'll see. Tight ends will play a big role. At least they should. Valuable blockers and pass catchers over the middle. Say Wright Odom will be the player of the game, and then Harris Daugherty on defense. Also going right, he's a great yet underrated player in the SEC. Looked like he lost a little bit of weight. Looks like he was moving a little bit more nimble. Yeah, Benny, you might, which is totally fine. You might be a little late. We looked at the injury report. Daquan Wright has been taken off of it. So they've made some adjustments. The only guys that are out are guys that you did not expect to play. There are no surprises on the out list. Looks much better. Looks much better. Love you too, Austin. Appreciate you, man. Wish Missouri, Kansas was a different time than 2:30. Absolutely. Yeah, we got a soccer game on Saturday at 11, so I can't watch my my upset special with Duke beating Illinois because we'll be watching soccer, obviously. If Lane can run it up, he obviously should. Oh, he absolutely would as well. Why do State fans think they'll win? They were tied with Southern Miss with 5 seconds in the first half. Well, a few reasons. They're at home. Arizona State does not have Scattaboo anymore. They played them really close a year ago. And yes, they were tied with 5 seconds to go in the first half, but they ended up, scoring 21 unanswered in the third quarter alone. They played, they're better. I'm not ready to say they're good, but I do think that they're better. And you know this, John, fan optimism, it's as simple as that. It's that they've got a top 10 team coming to their place and they're only a touchdown underdog. They believe. I really like what they have in the running back field or in the running back room in the backfield. Combine those two things. I'm not sure yet if they've got the offensive line to really to win a game like this. I don't know if they have that. Love the versatility of Trinidad on the goal line and in short yardage situations. Think he'll have a big impact on important games this year. Yeah, they showed you 3 different looks in that special running package. So you had Trinidad, you had the Daquan Wright package, so he's doing like the big man one. And then Taylor, the running back, also had Wildcat looks. So they have 3 different short yardage packages. I am curious to see which one will be their go-to when the game's a little bit more serious, but showed a lot of different looks there. Enjoyed the video with the Kentucky interview. Yeah, he was really good. He was really good. I liked him. It was kind of funny. He asked about the atmosphere, and he's like, I mean, people will be there. They're also kind of looking like if you give them a reason not to be there, they won't be there for long. What would you do if Lane decides the opposite of last year and put all of his running backs at receiver and bench the receivers? Oh, man. On the short yardage, I much prefer a Wildcat package with a bigger running back like Damian Taylor. Absolutely. A guy that, does that more often. That understand, like Pegues last year in the Florida game, multiple times tried to bounce it outside when there was no reason to. You hope that a running back is better equipped to, and not that Pegues was bad. The package worked, but a couple of times it felt like he was just doing the wrong thing, and maybe a running back is better equipped to read and find that gap more so than a defensive tackle. But anyway, you guys enjoy your football weekend. Enjoy the rest of your night watching football tonight. And we'll be live at some point on Saturday. I don't know when. It will not be immediately after the game, but it will be at some point on Saturday. Maybe early afternoon. Actually, not early afternoon. Like early evening. Just depends. Hit the notification bell, and I'll tweet out a link as well. I'll see you guys then.